I'm Holly.
And I'm Bridget.
And this
is Girls Next Level.
Welcome back to Girls Next Level, everybody. Today we're talking about the cringe of the cringe, the best of Girls Next Door episode, bedtime stories. But before we get to that, just if we're going back in time on the timeline of what we were actually doing in spring of 2007, right before we filmed this and it aired, we went to our friend Carmella's wedding. You guys remember Carmella from season 1, episode 4, her birthday in Vegas. And what was interesting about that was I think it was my first and only night I ever got to stay one night away from the mansion that didn't involve the cameras. So that was like a big deal.
Oh, wow.
It was my only one.
Well, and it was not without drama beforehand because originally we wanted to film it.
Yeah.
We were hoping to go and film
Mm-hmm.
it. And do you remember what happened, why we didn't film it? Was it because Carmella and Jeff didn't want us to film their wedding?
I don't remember at all. I only remember the Tiffany Fallon drama when they wanted to film her and she was feeling really pressured and didn't want to do it.
But we were all going to go. Hef was going to go. Kendra was going to go. Everybody was going to go. And then I don't even know why they decided not to. Maybe it was like around Hef's birthday or something. I don't know. Like
maybe the venue wouldn't let them do it.
No, but I mean, like, why wouldn't Hef still come? Because it would mean a night away from his precious buffet dinner and a movie.
Yeah, and it's just so expensive to, he didn't want to spend money on a private plane unless, like, we would fly private all the time, but because it was for the show or a Playboy event, the company would pay for it, and it would be that kind of a write-off. But for him to go do something personal, he doesn't want to spend the money on a private plane.
Yeah, so he decides not to come. We're not going to film. Hef decides not to come. And then, so it's if we want to go, we have to pay our own way to go. So we're like, well, we're not missing Carmella's wedding. Like, she's a good friend of ours. And like, we're excited for her and we want to be a part of this and everything. But Kendra did not feel the same.
No, she wasn't interested in going because we had to like pay out of our own pocket. I mean, it was a Southwest flight. It was $100, but
right.
I guess that wasn't worth it.
And we had to pay for our hotel rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
At the resort, but she was anti-going. So it was me and you and Crystal.
And Sarah Cranham, the makeup artist.
Crystal Camden, you guys.
Yeah.
Some people are like confused when we say Crystal. And we had so much fun and we flew into San Jose. And I had totally forgotten until I was going through our scrapbook stuff that we went to the Winchester house first.
Yeah, that was my first time at the Winchester Mystery House.
If you guys don't know, Winchester Mystery House is in San Jose and it's
a haunted Mecca.
It's amazing. And it's the most crazy house you've ever seen. And you can do tours and all kinds of stuff there. And it's incredible. And I probably talked you to death about it before it was like, we have to do this.
I feel like if I had unlimited funds, I would be Sarah Winchester-esque, just constantly building and doing reno and decorating because I just love that process so much.
Yeah.
Most people are like, get it done, all of it, and then we can move in. And I'm like, let's just do a room at a time because like I think it's so fun.
I like the idea of doing a room at a time too, like really just like putting everything into that room and taking your time doing everything perfectly and then to the next room. But I know that's not the way. Like people want to like rip all the floors out and then paint the entire place and then put, there's like a process. I'm like, I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
I want to like.
No, I enjoy it. I enjoy like honing in on every little detail.
Yeah.
And just, it's fun.
I agree. Well, anyway, and then we went to the wedding and I just remember we got there. It was at like a golf resort type thing. And so they like put us on golf carts and they took us to our rooms and we checked in and we're like getting ready and stuff. And it started pouring down rain.
Yes, that was scary for her wedding.
And they were getting married outside on the golf course on like a certain hole. I don't know which one. And they did have a tent up for people, but it was literally pouring rain.
Yeah. And the wedding ended up going off without a hitch. Like, didn't it kind of dry up like right on time?
Well, I felt like it was still raining.
Drizzling a little bit, yeah, but it wasn't awful.
And luckily the reception was inside. And so then we go to the reception, everything's fine, like it's fun, like we have a great time or whatever, but we leave kind of early and we go back to bed. And I don't even know why we left sort of early. The party was definitely still going on. We probably had to leave the crack of dawn or something. I don't know.
Well, I think we had this grand plan to like go change into pajamas and then come back to the party in
Did we plan
pajamas.
that?
I think I did because I think I thought I was so quirky doing that.
So what we do, you guys, we go back to the room, we get in our pajamas, and we were kind of having fun in our room. Remember we were dancing on the bed?
Wasted, calling concierge, asking for a tambourine.
Like, why did we need a tambourine?
We were having fun, guys. Just let us live.
We had the music blasting. We're dancing on the beds, asking for tambourines. And then all of a sudden, Carmella's like, get your asses back here. And I remember she whips up in like a
golf cart
and scoops us up in our pajamas. And we go back to this like formal wedding reception in our pajamas.
Yeah, but by the time we got back, it was like party mode. Like everybody was up dancing. Like we have pictures of it on our Patreon. It was a lot of fun.
Full-blown party mode. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's pictures on the Patreon if you guys want to see us in our pajamas partying at Carmella's wedding and see her gorgeous dress because she got it at Barachi.
Why do you think Hef let me go to that one? Do you think it just seemed, do you think it's because we were so close to going anyway and it was just in California, so it seemed non-threatening?
Yes. And I think that we'd been so close with her. We literally went wedding dress shopping with her. Like, she'd just been so much a part of things. And he was going to go at one time. We were all going to go. So I feel like he felt kind of bad, like backing out and then saying none of us could go. So we could still go. Yeah. And we must have had security with us, too. There's no way he let us go by ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
But it was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was a fun trip. So then we had to go back to the mansion and film this monstrosity.
Oh my God. You know what, though? I have to say from the top, it was not as cringe as I thought it was going to be.
You know what? Me either, because I rewatched this for my YouTube, was cringing to death. And then I was so prepared going into this. I'm like, oh God, this could be the worst thing I ever have seen. And there are parts of it that are, yes, the worst thing I've ever seen of myself. But for the most part, I would say like 3/4 of the episode, I actually enjoyed watching.
I actually enjoyed watching it. I actually got a little bit emotional at one point.
Oh, you'll have to tell me which point.
I will. And then there is a spot where I am like cringe to the max. And then there's a couple of spots that I didn't really want to revisit that, of course, we have to revisit. But for the most part, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. And do you remember the behind the scenes drama when we were filming it?
I sort of do. I remember there being a huge blow up with Kevin. I remember, first of all, Kevin is, during this whole scene, you guys, Kevin is sitting on like a folding chair in the corner of the room watching all of this.
A cuck chair.
Wait, what is a cuck chair?
Okay, a cuck chair. You know when a guy has a cuckolding fetish?
Wait, you told me what this is and I forgot.
Okay, so a cuckolding fetish is when you're turned on by watching somebody else fuck your partner.
Oh, that's right.
So when there's like a bed and then like, you know how most hotel rooms will have like a bed and like a random chair in the corner? That's a cuck chair.
That's what that's for?
Yeah, because you're, well, I don't know if it's,
put your shoes on or something.
No, I don't think that's consciously what it's for in most hotel rooms, but it's like, it can be used as a cuck chair.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, Kevin's on his cuck chair. And, you know, there's like lighting and cameras and everything. So it felt, even though Hef had a giant bedroom, it felt very packed and very hot in there.
Yeah. Well, there's cameramen, there's sound people, there's producers, there's Kevin's ass sitting in the chair.
Yeah. And it's just, it was interesting because Kevin had a very, you know, he obviously had a very particular idea in his head of where he wanted this to go. And I'm not going to say I've never been guilty of this in my life. You know, when you have an idea and you just kind of assume everybody's on the same page and just gets it, but in real life, people are not mind readers.
Yeah.
This was one of those situations. So Kevin clearly had an idea of how this was going to go, didn't really explain it to us, only told us the bare minimum, like you guys are going to be watching and reacting and talking about some of, you know, your favorite scenes of the show. But it didn't go the way he wanted. And there was a period of time, like in the middle of shooting this, where he just walked in front of the bed, stood in between us and the screen, and literally like a child was like stomping his feet and throwing a fit and yelling.
Yeah.
And do you remember how Hef reacted? I kind of have this vague memory. It was one of those moments where I just kind of like cringed back into the wall. So I don't really remember too much of what Hef was doing, but the vibe was like, I felt like he really enjoyed how we were going and where it was going and how we were filming it. And he was just kind of like watching the whole thing. And then maybe even he was getting a little impatient because he kind of wants to wrap this up. And
Yeah, well, I feel like Hef, for the most part, kind of liked just the open discussion and hearing our thoughts on things, because I feel like he never really asked us our thoughts on how we felt like the episodes went.
Yeah.
We talk about him in our interviews, so he sees kind of that, but we've never, like, discussed it with him or anything like that. So when I'm talking about, like, how I didn't like this episode or whatever, he seems genuinely interested to hear what I have to say, and I'm gonna point that out in that scene.
Yeah.
But I know that Kevin was hating this because we're talking, and if you watch when we, and I'll point these out as we go, when we're watching this, it starts out kind of negative from us because the shows start out kind of negative for us, and I think that is not what Kevin wanted at all.
No.
But Kevin Hef is genuinely interested to hear our thoughts on that. Kevin's already heard them and is not where he wants to go with this, and is pissed that this is the direction it's going, because he wants this to be a walk down lover's lane nostalgia, like everything is so beautiful and
perfect
great.
and great. And isn't the show so precious?
And look how far we've come.
Yeah.
He wants to start us at the beginning and look how far we've come and look at all these points that have happened. But we're like, ew, this is my bitch episode. And ew, they put that in there. And he's like getting livid in the corner.
And in our defense, I think most of our conversation was positive, but because there's a little bit of like my, snarky thoughts, and we all have things we don't like. He didn't even want a shade of that. And he was so pissed. And, it made it in. I think he kind of had no choice but to include it because it was all we were going to say about those particular scenes that were already slated to go in.
Well, and he's got Hef captive in this too. So he's only got so much time. And Hef is not going to go back and redo that shit.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, unless he thought there was a problem. And Hef does not think there's a problem with this. Are you a yo-yo dieter? You diet, you lose weight, but gain it all back, sometimes plus a few extra pounds. Then later you lose it and regain it again and again. It's dangerous. Studies show that can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other health problems. Breaking free of your yo-yo diet pattern is a main reason doctors created Lean. Lean is a supplement, not an injection, and you don't need a prescription. The science behind Lean is impressive. It studied natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting fat into energy.
Listen, if you're tired of losing weight and gaining it back, if you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace, Lean was created for you. Let's get you started with 20% off when you enter NextLevel20 at TakeLean.com. That's code NextLevel20 at TakeLean.com. TakeLean.com, code NextLevel20.
And also, we clearly had no idea of like the layout that Kevin had in his mind, because Hef goes, so where do we want to start? What are our favorite scenes? And I'm like, Winnie's birthday party, which Kevin clearly wants to start at the beginning, the very beginning. And so I'm like yelling out things that are like way down the line.
And do you remember, were we actually watching the scenes, or were we just talking about them from memory and acting like we were?
No, I think we actually watched them.
Yeah.
I think they put them on, and then we watched them, and then we talked about them.
And I wonder if we were watching all of them in real time, because I'm watching this episode and it seems like our conversation is flowing very naturally. Like, we're not necessarily, like you said, talking about them in order. Like, we kind of start doing that, and then our conversations veer into other things. So I wonder if we truly watched all of them, or if they plugged some in after because our conversations just went there. I don't know.
That's possible. We may not have watched every single one of them, but I think we do watch them.
Yeah, and you're right about what you said about Hef seeming genuinely interested, which was rare because he wasn't really having girlfriends to have conversations with them too much. But he's sitting there like really interested. Like it's like he's downstairs having an intellectual salon with his male friends. Like he's just in it.
Yeah, he's totally in it.
He's in it to win it.
Which also is, and I know I've said this before, but it shows how much he was into the show and how happy he was in the relationship right now. There's so many signs of that at this point right now that I just feel like and you guys can say this is not true or whoever can say this is not true, I honestly feel like this was one of Hef's best times of his life right here.
100,000%.
He was so, so happy, and you can't tell me that he wasn't because, like, we saw it. He was giddy, he loved the show, he was so comfortable with the situation.
Yeah, 100%. So before we get into it step by step, this, in case you haven't figured it out yet, is a best of episode, which I feel like even at the time we shot this was a very retro feeling thing. Like back in the 80s growing up, I remember sitcoms would every once in a while come up with an episode that was kind of like a walk down memory lane, and they would show kind of the best of. So it felt dated even then. Not that it wasn't not dated to the point where it wasn't worth doing, but it was kind of like a dated, like old-fashioned TV thing. So right up Kevin's alley.
Yeah.
And I think for him, this was kind of like a sign that the show had made it, hence his heightened emotions when things weren't going his way during filming. So, and, you know, this episode, when it aired on May 28th, 2007. The top song was Makes Me Wonder by Maroon 5. And the top movie was the third Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Do you remember, and it was probably around this time, there was a playmate, and I don't wanna mention who it is, who was dating the lead singer of Maroon 5, and
Yes.
she was so in love with him, and I just feel like he treated her crappy, like, she was I don't know what the situation or, like, all the details or whatever, but she was always just so brokenhearted, but so in love at the same time. Anyway, every time I think of Maroon 5, I just think about this playmate being so in love, and I
Yes.
remember there were a few parties, and Adam Levine was there, and she'd be, like, going over and talking to him, but I felt like I don't know,
Like they couldn't make it public, kind of.
yeah, well, I feel like he didn't wanna make it public, probably 'cause his
Yeah.
other girlfriend's somewhere
Mhm.
else, so he's like, "Oh, yeah, hi," to keep it low key.
Do you remember his cheating scandal from recently?
Tell me, 'cause I don't know.
Okay, so it was a girl on TikTok jumps on and she's like, "Hey, I was dating a guy who's married to a Victoria's Secret model." And people figured out it was Adam Levine. And then somehow I think maybe she started, this was a couple of years ago, so my memory's foggy on this, but I think like screenshots of DMs were sent. And then like his wife was expecting and he goes, "Hey, what do you think about da 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 as a baby name?" And it was her name, the mistress.
I do remember that. Oh,
I would kill someone.
I would kill too.
Oh my God.
There would be a divorce in this.
There'd be worse than a divorce.
I mean, are they still together?
Yeah.
Holy shit, she really is forgiving.
Team her on God.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
feel like there was somewhere I was going with that cheating story too.
I don't know, but just
I don't
Maroon
know.
5 made me think of that playmate and this
mess.
time period and
Yeah.
and that going on. I always felt bad for her because I always felt like he just treated her shitty, even, you know,
I hate it. Ugh.
like, and we can see it so clearly, but she was so in love.
Yes. Oh my God.
So this one starts out a little cringy because we're all, well, you and Hef are in bed. And then
Yeah.
I come walk in. Oh, and by the way, we thought that we did this in the trauma pajama, but we didn't.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing and probably very purposeful. Like, I think the three of us talked about it ahead of time and like, let's wear different pajamas. Because I'm wearing flannel pajamas that have puffins on it. You're wearing a very cute two-piece
Betsy Johnson,
pink frilly
ruffly.
set.
Yeah.
Kendra's wearing a very tomboy sporty two-piece blue Playboy set. So I like that. I like that we took a stand to wear things that we thought were true to us and we weren't in the clone gear.
Yeah.
But that's how I remember it because of the cringe scene at the end. I remember it, all of us in the pink pajamas, because I had that vibe. Blech.
Yeah.
And I walk in and I somersault onto the bed. And if you look behind me, you just see a mess on the floor. But I gotta take accountability too, because if you're looking at my areas on the bed, like the kind of side area where my stuff is and behind me, there are just stacks of books and magazines and just, it's a mess.
Well, it's like you didn't have anywhere to put things.
Exactly. And Hef is either really tickled by the somersault or just so fucking excited to film this or both, because he's just on one.
Yeah. And then I come in, I'm like, "Hey guys."
Yeah.
And I crawl into bed as we do.
And then Kendra says, "What's going on?" And Hef is like, "Oh, we were just talking about what movie we're going to watch and thought we could instead watch some old episodes of the show." And I already don't like how this is set up because it's setting it up like as if this is what we do every night is snuggle into bed together and watch something. And that never happened unless, ironically, we were watching like a rough cut of the show. But typically we wouldn't even be in pajamas for that. Like everybody would be like, maybe sometimes if somebody would be, but we'd be like in our end of day clothes. Nobody would be under the covers. Maybe somebody would order food.
Yeah.
But I just don't like how it's setting it up like we're this incest family who's getting together in bed to watch a movie every night, because that wasn't how it was.
Yeah, and there were times that we would watch some things all together, like you said, the drafts, but also, like, you guys did the Sopranos thing, and I joined you for a few things, I don't even remember what.
And sometimes we'd even get together and watch stuff downstairs all together.
Sometimes, yeah, but usually, like you said, we'd be in regular clothes.
Yeah.
And just ordering food.
And not under the covers. Yeah, no way.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like it's a little awkward going into it, too, because, like, oh, what are we doing?
Yeah, and we all know it's fake, and I don't know how you felt about it, but I think Kendra and I, for different reasons, both had difficulty with the kind of, like, fake scenes. Like, I had difficulty if it was something that, like, encroached on what Hef's and my usual routine was, or on my private space.
Yeah.
And Kendra just didn't like doing the quote-unquote fake scenes.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this scene?
I feel like I felt like it was unnecessary to do this whole thing, so I was just like, whatever, but I also felt like, well, I'm just gonna give it to them whatever they need, you know? So I feel like if anybody, I was probably the best sport out of it.
I think so, because the way I remember filming this, like I don't remember word for word what Kevin said when he threw his tantrum, and I don't even think he was specific about what we were doing wrong. I think he expected all of us to be mind readers. But the vibe I remember is you were just there trying to do your best and go along with it and whatever. And Kendra and I were both kind of on the same page. Like we were both kind of chafing against it for different reasons, I think. But we were both on that vibe.
Yeah.
And Hef asks us what we want to watch, and you say Winnie's birthday party. Kendra says fight night. And the negativity starts, of course, with me. And I say, not the first one, meaning the first episode.
Yeah, and you get like really give a ugh and roll your eyes.
Yeah.
So it's already like Kevin's like, what is this?
Yeah, what does this mean? Even though he knows in real life how we feel about certain things, but he's never expecting us to say it.
Yeah.
Outside of like commentary, perhaps.
And I think some of the comments that Hef says are really interesting. Like he responds to you by saying, well, I think that one is particularly intriguing because it shows how much has happened in their intervening time, which I think is purposely why they want to start at the very beginning. Ones. And one note I do want to say too, we're not wearing none of us are wearing very much makeup in this. I'm sure we have some on, but I feel like we all look really natural and really good.
Yeah, very no makeup. And we're all I don't think we talked about makeup, definitely not, but we're kind of like naturally on the same page with it.
Yeah.
Like we probably talked about the pajamas, but it's not like we're like, hey, let's do a no makeup look. Like I know we didn't say that.
Yeah. And at this point in time, I don't even know that we had to talk about the pajamas. I feel like we each probably were like, I'm going to do my own thing in there, something that represents my personality.
Yeah, we probably were like on the same wavelength without talking about it.
We probably would have thought it was weird if everybody came in and got in the
Yeah, that would have felt yuck.
Well, and then you tell Hef, let's watch the first one and I'll tell you what I hate about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right.
But I don't think I end up saying, because in reality, what I really hate about the first episode is not what they show. What I hate about the first episode is how they pit Kendra and I against each other at the end. And that's not what they show. They just show the intros of all the girls. So what I hate about it isn't relevant to what they show.
Yeah. Yeah. So literally, it's just the intros. One thing that I do cringe on is that Kendra, they instead of just introducing Kendra, they go into the Hef saved my life thing that she does.
But also, it's a situation that I'm sure also gave her some trauma too.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not as cut and dry as they like to make it look in Girls Next Door.
Can you guess how many times you've probably tried the latest diet craze? I know I've tried so many. Everything from the green smoothies you've seen me drink on the show to lower calories, lower carbs, all kinds of things, and with varying results. The more you yo-yo diet, the more stubborn your fat gets, and then you're screwed. It's not about willpower. You've willed yourself through enough brutal diets and workouts. It's probably genetics, and the doctors at Sono Bello can help determine if your body's quote-unquote problem areas are genetic.
Wherever you have stubborn, diet-resistant fat and inches, Sono Bello's micro-laser fat removal technology removes it for good in one comfortable visit. Those stubborn inches around your tummy are gone. Muffin tops, side fat, gone. Even saggy, loose skin, gone permanently. All that's left are the beautiful, natural curves you've been hoping to get. Warm weather is almost here. Now is the perfect time to visit Sono Bello and get your goal body in time for swimsuit season. Micro-laser fat removal is the permanent solution, and Sono Bello doctors are the experts. Schedule your free consultation now, and you'll get the best offer of the season. sonobello.com/next level. That's Sono, BELLO.com/next level. One other thing I wanted to talk about this too. You introduce yourself, and then you kind of lead into my introduction, and then I do my introduction of what I bring to this group, and then when they do Kendra's, they have you say it, and it's more of how Hef sees her.
Oh, that's interesting.
I thought it was interesting too, because I never noticed it on our first rewatch, but I noticed it on this time. And then Kendra just talks about Hef saving her life, along with her mom and her grandma and her grandpa and her brother and her dogs.
Yeah.
Then Hef.
Yeah. Seems like she's got a pretty strong support system.
I know, right?
Anyway.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting how it was all broken down, but they don't really show what was concerning about that episode. And so whether, we really actually got to talk about that or not, I don't remember. I don't recall you being able to say anything more.
Yeah, probably not. And then after they show the first episode, that was kind of the cold open to the bedtime stories. And they do like the typical intro, but at the end, when it shows like the Girls Next Door logo in the gate in front of the mansion, it says they do like a sparkle sound effect and it says bedtime stories. And then they flip it around and they say the best of the Girls Next Door. And my first question was, whose idea of best is this? And it wasn't that bad, actually, once I started watching it. But like we didn't pick what we felt was like our favorites.
And then I say the second episode is my least favorite episode. And Holly says, yeah, for the same reason the first one is my least favorite. That's my bitch episode and your bitch episode. And Kendra just laughs. And I'm like, oh, nice.
Because she never got a bitch episode.
I know.
Not in the beginning anyway. I mean.
And here's where I wrote my notes. I know Kevin is getting pissed right now.
No, that's exactly what I have in the same spot. I wrote, I can only imagine Kevin melting because so far no one has said anything positive. And that was not what he came here for.
Like, I can feel the fumes 15 years, 18 years, whatever, how many years later we are right now.
Yeah.
I feel the fumes coming through. Like, on the other side of the, from the spirit world, he's mad right now.
So Kevin's in his cuck chair melting. And but one thing I have to say about this, and one thing I am so grateful that this episode exists for, is you're catching in real time when it was happening that we already didn't think we were being cut accurately. And there were already things about the show we didn't like in real time. So this isn't some revisionist history thing that we're doing 18 years later where it's like I'm looking back and cringing and embarrassed at myself. So I'm like, that wasn't who I was. I didn't like that. That's not me. That's like a fake edit. No, we felt like that in the moment. We were like, hey, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's not right.
Yeah. And so then this next clip, of course, is me talking about how I've wanted Playmate for so long. And it's really hard seeing all the other girls coming in and just getting it and that kind of thing. And, just how much it means to me. And luckily they didn't go into all of the, she's trying to sabotage the other girls and stuff anymore. They left that out of this scene. But they do show all my ugly dated photos, which I hate because I feel like it's not a fair representation.
Yeah. And I do like I know obviously this is not your favorite episode. And I'm glad they didn't do the whole like sabotaging the playmates on the night out. Because I think that's what's the really bad thing about that episode. But I do think it's nice to show that and then and then they go into like a montage of like all our shoots.
Yeah.
So that's a cool arc, but I get it. Like, it's one thing about this bedtime story episode is we kind of have to sit there and see every scene of ourselves that we hate. Like, even Kendra, even though I don't, from my perspective, I don't think the things she hates about the show are maybe as serious as what we hate.
Yeah.
But like, we know she hates being shown being bad at sports. So of course, in the best of episode, even though I don't think any viewer on the face of the planet, when they're thinking of a favorite Kendra moment, is like, how about that time she missed a basketball shot? Like, nobody we would pick that as a best of. But she has to sit through the things she hates. Like so it's like lame.
And then after they play the clips and stuff, I say it meant so much to me to be in the magazine because it's something that I wanted to do for so long. And it was a dream come true and I wanted to do it right. And Hef seems like genuinely, like, oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention about the whole thing of this long ass best of episode, not one time is there a clip of me making the ugly face that they always show me doing in the...
Oh, that's good.
And they show all kinds of montages, all kinds of photo shoots, all kinds of things. So that tells me it could have been done and they did it on purpose to me.
Oh, like in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think they always, it's like with my resting bitch face, they want to make it look like you're sneering in the corner or like mad or something when that's not really how you were feeling.
Right.
And then they show the montage of Kendra being bad at sports. And it's just funny because, like, what does Kevin expect? Like, he's showing all of our least favorite moments and he's expecting us to be like, gosh darn, this is great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what? And then they cut to me bowling myself down the alley, which I like that they included that because I think it's a very rare personality moment from me in seasons 1 or 2. And then Duchess joins us on the bed at some point. And she's just so cute because she's like so like stiff and alert. And I don't know. I just like seeing her again.
I'm actually surprised with all the people in the room and everything
that she wasn't freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, like barking her head off or like just in a panic. Like stiff is one thing, but I'm really surprised that she wasn't like going crazy.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that the dogs weren't like sent to the med room or something just because there were so many people in there filming that they would be loud. Like I wonder, like, did she like, I don't know how she got there. So then the next scene is Kendra forgetting her grill. And we talk about the funny, dirty looks in the grill scene, which weren't really dirty looks. They were just cutting back to like Sarah or Kimberly Holland with a resting bitch face. But those looks were so funny. And I think it would have been really good in the Bedtime Stories episode if they would have cut to those faces as we were talking about them because they were really funny.
Yeah.
And then I say that my favorite episode, which is interesting, I'm glad they caught this on camera too, because if you would have asked me what was my favorite episode back then, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But I say it's Operation Playmate because I thought it was very true to life and it shows the slip and slide, which was something I was excited about. And I think back then it was just super important for me for the show. Like I loved all the new opportunities we got and the fact that the show was an excuse to do new opportunities that were outside of the box. But it was also super important that they just showed what life was really like. Because I think what I didn't like about the show back then and what one of the reasons I had major hesitations about doing it is I'm like, I don't want this to turn into the Mean Girls era again. I don't want everybody to start fighting over camera time and start like acting different to steal scenes, which was happening. So I always loved when they got episodes that were very true to life and like, this is what we actually do.
Yeah. And then after they play those clips, we do another real life scene. We order food and Hef calls down to the pantry to order food. He wants a standard soup meal. Holly orders a bowl of Life cereal with soy milk on the side.
Just soy milk. Ugh.
And when it shows me ordering, and of course...
But you're ordering for you and Kendra. Like you're kind of ordering for everybody.
I know, but they're not trying to make it look like that, even though it is. But so I order my parents' cottage cheese dip and reduced fat Ruffles, and then guacamole with tortilla chips. So 2 chips and dips for Kendra and I to share.
Yeah.
And we say we're going to share these before we do it. And then Kendra adds, I want a chicken quesadilla. So I order a chicken quesadilla. And then she says, and order me a strawberry milkshake. And I thought she was kidding, but she wasn't. So,
and you know what's funny is after she says strawberry milkshake, Hef goes, oh, like he wants to order something else. So I thought, oh, he wants a strawberry milkshake too, because that sounds fucking good. But no, he grabs the phone and orders the most disgusting sounding thing. He's like, yeah, I'd like to get some celery hearts and 2 boiled eggs. I'm like, I mean, props for keeping it healthy, but it just sounded like after he's going to get like a strawberry milkshake or something. I was celery hearts and 2 boiled eggs.
That's what I've written in my notes. What? And an exclamation points and question marks. So I said, not what I thought he was going to order.
Yeah, totally.
He goes all super healthy, but we're like over here milkshakes and chips and dip.
And then they do a whole section on Wednesday, which is super fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, and I say that my number one question at this time that I was getting is what kind of dog is Wednesday?
I would get that as a number one question.
It was like the number one. A Pekingese, just in case anybody has ever missed it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it shows the clip of me getting Wednesday, which I hate the it was shot on like a handheld little camera by just a a field producer in like horrible lighting. So I hate all that about it, but I love that all that was because
totally.
nobody would believe the story if I told it, and nobody would see how anxiety provoking it was if we didn't have that on camera. So I'm so happy that it's there.
Yeah, it's fun to capture all that.
And then Winnie peeing on my sister.
Yeah. And then they cut to Anastasia's waxing scene, which I forgot all about, even though we just reviewed that, a year ago?
Oh, yeah,
I was like, oh, I forgot about that scene. And we're talking about Anastasia's makeover. And I say fans are always requesting a makeover. Like, you should do an episode where you pick a fan and give them an Anastasia makeover. And you're like, that could be a whole spinoff, the Playboy makeover. And should we talk about how after we left the mansion, Kevin tried to do that with each of us separately?
Yeah.
Like, he really wanted to do that show.
He wanted to do that show really bad. And I had no idea he was trying to do it with you, but he kept asking me, why don't we do this show where, we go and like we did with your sister and give her a makeover and stuff. I don't think I knew that he was trying to do it with you until we started doing this show.
I don't know if it was around the same time, though. I don't know if you remember exactly when he was trying to do it. For me, it was like right after Holly's World was canceled. We were trying to think of like, oh, what could we do next? And that was what he brought up.
I think mine was before that. It was like, right after Beaches was canceled.
And it never happened, but I'm kind of glad because I feel like...
I don't know if that would age well.
Yeah, it's just telling people like, oh, this is... Which I guess if that's what you want to look like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I would have fucking loved it as a teenager if somebody gave me a Playboy makeover. But I think people would look back and be like, well, why do you have to look like that?
Well, that's what I told Kevin at the time. I don't think it's healthy to tell everybody that they need to look like a Playboy bunny or Playboy model or like look like we look.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody has a different idea of what's beautiful and stuff, and they should go with that. Like, I feel bad like having a show that's telling people that this is what you need to look like in order to be beautiful.
Yeah.
We need to bleach your hair. We need to get hair extensions. You need a boob job. Let's get you tan. Let's fix that makeup.
Right. Because I didn't even think about that. Even when he was like trying to put together they wrote like a pitch thing, like a deck for me. And I hated the deck so much. We never even pitched it. Like, I was kind of pissed at like what they put in it. But I didn't even, at the time, didn't even think about the possibility of surgery. That would have been like the swan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if they would have included surgery or not, but to me, if you want the Playmate look, it's going to be, big boobs and tan and blonde. And so I don't know how far they would have gone with it. If it would have just been like hair and makeup and stuff like that, like we did with my sister, or what? What didn't you like about the deck?
Well, at the time, I was going through a phase where I wanted to get away from Playboy so bad. And he wasn't really pitching this to me as like a Playboy makeover show. It was just like makeover in general. And they wrote up the deck and they started out like best known as Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, Holly Madison. And I'm like, okay, I don't care if that is true. Like, even if that is what I'm best known for, I'm not marketing myself like that. So can you take that out? And they were very much like aghast that I would try to have a say in the deck that was about me. And then they were putting pictures of like me, like before and after my nose job. And I'm like, did you even ask?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing where like people would take that one picture that like a mean girl put online of me like sweaty at a party. And you know what I mean? And then next to like a glammed up photo. And I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, that makes me think they were thinking surgery.
Probably.
Yeah. Interesting. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. In a society that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we are all better when we have a support system behind us. I know for me, my support system is my family. It's Nick, it's my mom, it's my sister and my brother. Like, anytime I need something, I know they've got my back and I know they're always there for me to chat with. But not everybody has that. Or sometimes that's not enough, or those aren't the right ears to be listening.
Hyperindependence is such a topic that resonates with me so much because of things I've gone through in my adult life. I've switched to a place where I really just only want to rely on myself and not count on anybody else. But like Bridget said, that can get tricky. You need a support system and you need people to talk to. And for me, going to therapy and having that unbiased ear to listen to me and give me an outsider's perspective on what's going on in my life is so helpful.
Therapy can be a source of support for any area of your life. It's time to shift the focus from doing it all to knowing that we're better when we ask for help. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/nextlevel to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/nextlevel. Kendra says something interesting right here, right after Anastasia's makeover. She says, it's funny because people are only seeing 20 minutes of our lives, and we have a 24-hour day. And I think, and she's like really kind of, it's almost like she's venting about something, but she doesn't really say what she's venting about. But she must have been getting some comments about people saying, is this all you do? Or like, or I don't know what she's getting comments, but she just makes an interesting thing, kind of like defending. And she says, people think that's it. That's all that happened. But there's so much more to the story than what they see. But it's good they see all these highlights. But I think that's interesting. I think that's why it's so important for us doing this podcast and stuff. Like, you're only seeing 22 minutes of like something we might have filmed for weeks.
Yeah.
Or at least days. So if you're seeing 22 minutes of somebody's, even say it took 2 days of somebody's 48 hours, it's such like the micro amount of it. So,
and because it's reality, people think that's exactly the whole of who you are. And then you talk about, or Hef talks about his favorite is like birthday episodes. So they kind of show a montage of birthday episodes. And one of my things that I don't love about this bedtime story thing is they don't show anything from season 3 until like the very, very end. They do like a quick montage that has like a few cuts from like my birthday episode. And I guess maybe the network thought, oh, season 3 is so recent, we don't even want to include it. But I feel like it would have been so much better and so much more complete and really shown the evolution if they would have shown clips from all seasons. But they're only showing clips from seasons 1 and 2.
Yeah. When Hef asks about the favorite episodes and I say my murder mystery birthday and they show clips of it, one of the things Kendra says is that's the difference between our reality show and other ones. Ours is real. What do you think about that?
It's interesting because you know what? I think she wanted it to be real. I think that's what she wanted. But it's interesting that she says that because she complained the most both during the show and after the show about how not real the show was and how much she wanted it to be more real. And of course, you know my opinion. I don't think it's fucking real. I think there's elements that are authentic. I think you were very authentic in it. I think there are times that are authentic, but I definitely don't agree that it's real. I think Kendra wanted it to be real. And when a scene came up that she thought was real, she's like, that's what's different about our show. It's real. Like Kevin would tell me when they were developing her spinoff that she wanted to call it Keeping It Real. Because that was like her biggest thing. She just wanted it to be real. And I don't know that her idea of real is necessarily meaning what actually happens. I think it's more her idea of real. Her. Yeah, true to her and what she thinks is more down to earth and not fluffy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I see now when I look back at the show, I do feel like it was very real. It was very real for me and the life I was living.
Have you seen the Black Widow movie where the sister goes, "It was real. It was real to me." That's what you sounded like. It was real.
What is the Black Widow movie?
Okay, so
Marvel or something?
Yeah, it's a Marvel movie, and these girls were like raised in like this assassin program, and they had like these fake childhoods that were manufactured to them, and the little sister is just now finding out that her family wasn't really her family, and the older sister is like, oh, it wasn't real, and she goes, it was real. It was real to me. So that's what I was thinking when you were saying it.
It was real for me.
But here's the thing is I've said this from the beginning, us doing the reviews. I think you were the only one who was authentic on the show. I think Kendra and I were not, and in different ways.
And I feel like that's one of the reasons why it must have been so frustrating, because if I felt like I was faking it the whole time, or this wasn't really who I am, this like cheesy, girly like thing, it would have been hard to probably have to do it all the time. But for me, like this, I feel like the show is me. It's what my personality is. It's like, it is me. I don't know how else to explain that. It sounds weird, but I feel like the show is very Bridget.
No, it totally is. And even though there are things I love and appreciate about it, I think the show is not me. Like, I think I want something like more serious and more layers. And I think Kendra wants something that's more like cool and down to earth or what she thinks down
None
to
of the
earth is.
fluff
And like,
stuff.
yeah.
No
like,
dog birthday parties, okay? And Hef says something interesting here. He says, well, what we didn't anticipate is that it did change everything, but it changed it for the better. It brought us all closer together and gave us wonderful adventures.
which is true.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show a Europe montage, including Waldo, the photographer, because that was truly something that, we never, like me being in the mindset, like, oh, I'm just going to be at the mansion forever. I never thought I'd be able to travel.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we got to was amazing.
Then our food arrives in
Yeah.
real time in the bedroom. And I offer Hef some guac, and he's like, no, thank you.
That's so funny. And you know what else is fake about this scene is it's supposed to look like it's the last thing we're doing during the day before going to bed, but we're actually shooting it in the middle of the day. And the first clue to that is Hef is ordering his soup meal, which is his lunch. And granted, lunch would usually be late for him. Like we're shooting this around like 5 p.m. Like later you'll see the digital clock behind him and it says 6 p.m., which is another clue that this isn't like the nighttime thing they want it to be. But he says, well, I order soup, for my midday meal, and then I have a bigger meal later in the day. So that's the first clue that this really is not the bedtime story they want it to be.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because just to take that a little bit further, what Hef says here, he says, as you know, I'm a creature of habit, because he doesn't want the guacamole, and we laugh. And then he says, I have soup every evening and a bigger meal later at night, and I order by number. My folks were from Nebraska, and they were farm people, so my taste in food is very Midwestern. But he's trying to give people like a glimpse of like how he is a little bit. And I feel like, not that the show hasn't already shown it, but I think that's interesting that he's like opening up a little bit and like showing himself a little more.
That's a good point, because I feel like how we felt like when we got to do commentary, I always really enjoyed it because I felt like I could say a little bit of the truth. Like maybe not everything I was feeling, because obviously you're still in this framework where people are listening. But I feel like for Hef, this is like his commentary. Like he can be like, oh, like in his mind, well, if you ever thought my food was fucking weird when you see it on the show, here's the backstory.
Yeah. And I was thinking that when I was watching it too, I was like, this is kind of like commentary, but we're all doing it with Hef.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I thought that too. Did you know that some children's vitamins are filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar, unhealthy chemicals, and other gummy additives that growing kids should like never eat? I mean, they're basically candy in disguise. And that's why Haya created a super-powered chewable vitamin. While many children's vitamins are filled with 5 grams of sugar, which is known to contribute to a variety of health issues, Haya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy additives. Yet it tastes great and is perfect for picky eaters. Haya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide the full body nourishment our kids need with a yummy taste they love. Formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, Haya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamin D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many others to help support immune system, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more.
I taste tested my kids' Haya vitamins before I gave them to my kids for the first time, and I can assure you they taste great. And my kids had so much fun decorating the containers with the stickers that come with your first order. It was totally cute. Are you tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens? I know that struggle. Haya now has kids' daily greens plus superfood, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power development and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. We've worked out a special deal with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hayahealth.com/nextlevel. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to HIYAHEALTH.com/nextlevel and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. And the next scene I actually love, and I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a redemption scene because it's a montage of all of us eating.
I felt that way too.
I was like, oh my God.
And fun.
It's cute and fun. It's real because I think all 3 of us genuinely loved food.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even Hef loves certain foods. And they show just a really fun montage of all of us eating. Yeah, there's a little bit more of you in it, but I think that's because that's all they have to work with because they have, in the bulk of the episode skewed it toward you. But it's I feel like finally, like this is real. This is like all of us are loving food and eating and having fun with it. And it's not just blamed on you.
Right. I thought that too.
And then they show the clotted cream scene. And if you guys have been following along on this podcast, you know when we reviewed the Europe episode, I brought clotted cream. I don't remember if I left it in the main podcast or just the Patreon for the video, but I brought clotted cream so we could try it and actually really fucking like it. Like I finished that whole jar.
I thought it was good too.
Yeah, I like it.
I think I just, in the scene, I wasn't sure what I was going to be getting.
Yeah.
And it sounds so gross.
Yeah.
And then you take it and then all the pressure's on you and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's
You know, you need a reaction.
okay, it was okay. And I say it was okay, it was fine and stuff. But I think that it's not what I thought it was going to be. Like I thought it was going to be like a curdled, like.
That's what it sounds like it would be. It sounds like it would be like a curdled, half sour.
Yes.
Like they caught the milk right before it went rancid. That's what it sounds like it would be.
But it's actually really good.
And then they go into a whole flashing montage of all of us flashing, which I'm neither here nor there on. I'm like, is that really necessary?
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where like the audience probably thinks it's funny and unique. I think I'm just so desensitized to nudity. I'm like, that's stupid and gratuitous.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the first thing in this episode that I really don't like. And I'm cringing and not having fun watching it is they go into like the episode where we visit Kendra's hometown. And they have to do they have to show the creepy scene again where Hef is like all excited over her childhood videos. And I'm like, ew, like, don't they know this isn't a good look? Ugh. And then
and I say too, so they're showing Mary and Patty prepping the food for Hef coming and stuff, like the fried chicken and that kind of thing. And Kendra tells Hef, they were just trying to make you feel at home. And Hef calls the chicken Kentucky Colonel.
Yeah, he thinks KFC is called Kentucky Colonel.
But then he said, and I say he did the dreaded thing. He refers to the tape as the high point of that whole thing.
Ew, I missed that part. I think as I'm rewatching this, I'm cringing so hard that I'm kind of tuning out because I just hate that scene so much.
Yeah.
Ew.
The high point was the tape, he said. Blah.
And then we talk about Hef's favorite chair, the womb chair. And he genuinely gets sentimental about the chair again and starts giving a whole backstory as to like why he bought that chair and what the chair is. And then they do a montage.
But he said something interesting that I didn't know before, and I forgot since then, is that when he graduated from college, he bought that chair for beauty and a set of encyclopedias for brains.
Yeah. And he makes it sound like he blew all his money on that. And he goes, it's amazing someone with those kind of sensibilities could ever be successful in business. And then they do my favorite thing because I say something and they go the do-do-do-do and like focus in on Hef.
Because, no, I said it because you were like something about the womb chair. I have it in here. And I said, Arnie suggested that the next time we do a photo shoot for Playboy, you should be naked on Hef's favorite chair. And I say, while pregnant.
And then it goes, and pauses on Hef. And then they do a whole montage of me being annoying about marriage and babies. And I think it's funny to a point. Like, I like when they do all the clips where it's like, with Hef. Like, I think those are funny. But I do feel like it goes on a bit too long. Like, maybe I'm oversensitive about it because it's me. And I feel like they're trying to make me look a little more annoying. Or even if they're not trying to, just the repetitiveness of it makes it look more annoying. Like, even though in the moment when I was doing those jokes and I thought they were funny, it just went on a little too long, I felt.
I think you're just feeling that way because it's you. I didn't think it went on too long. I thought it was funny and cute and like similar to other montages they've done of other things.
Yeah.
And then we get to Holly's favorite episode.
Oh, God. Yeah, Hef, in real life, when we're filming on the bed, he starts getting really sentimental just about how good he thinks his life is right now. And then they have to show the anniversary episode barf, which is another thing. Like, of course, they're showing all of our least favorite stuff.
Can I say what Hef said? Because I think it's really sweet. Yeah. So Hef says, with all of the adventures in my life, and I just think about all of this in the last 3 or 4 years is just so sweet. I imagine what my life was like earlier than that, and it was okay. But this is, and then he gets teary-eyed and kisses Holly, and he says, it just doesn't get any better. That's all.
And moving on from that, we talk about the Playboy Club opening and they show the fashion show. And I say, oh, that's like my favorite episode of the Playboy Club opening. But I think I meant the fashion show episode. I think that's the one I meant when I said that. And they do a whole Vegas montage. And then they cut from the Vegas montage back to us on the bed. And Hef talks about having some reservations about doing the show. And he looks at me and he says, I know you did. And I said, I had more reservations than you. And again, that's another thing that I'm glad was captured in real time, because when I say I didn't want to do the show in the beginning and that I knew maybe it could be a good opportunity, but I was really hesitant, like that's not revisionist history. Like that is true and that's documented here.
Yes.
Like Hef says it.
Yeah. Can I read the whole thing he says? Because I think it's really kind of cool. So Hef says there has been a rebirth, and he's talking about Playboy and the Palms and the club opening and stuff like that. There has been a rebirth, and it has reflected in a fascinating way with my own personal life. In other words, the brand is hotter again, more than ever before, and I am in such a wonderful place because of you girls. Life has never been better on every kind of level, and I think we all agree that it turned out to be more and better than we expected. I think one of the things that nobody anticipated is how it would change everybody's lives. And this is where I start getting like emotional in the episode, but not in scene, but watching it back. And I say, yeah, from traveling to other opportunities. And then he says, well, I know to begin with, I had, and some of us, and he was referring to you, had some reservations about doing the show, but it changed everything for the better, and it has captured a moment in time that is a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It really did. I mean, there's definitely some negatives to the show, as I love to point out so often. But overall, like I always say, like the show saved my life. Like things were looking pretty grim at that house before the show came along. And the show like gave me my confidence before I worked at the studio. And the show allowed me to move on. And, you know.
And then the next clip, they do a montage of it's kind of like season 3 probably right here. But this is where I really got kind of teary-eyed and sort of felt nostalgic. Yeah. Like, it would be kind of fun to be back there right now. Not all the time or anything like that or change my life or anything. But like to like still have that in my life kind of thing.
And I think it's a bummer that they weren't able to show or didn't want to show footage from all the seasons throughout. But I think in Kevin's mind and probably E's mind, they thought in a couple seasons there was going to be another best of episode.
They 100% thought that.
Yeah.
No question. And then, you guys, we get to the cringiest of all cringe. If I could have just turned it off right there, it would have landed on like this sweet, like emotional scene. But no, we have to ruin it.
I'm so uncomfortable even thinking about it. And Bridget, when I wrote my book back in 2015, I didn't go back and review any episodes of Girls Next Door or anything. I was going strictly off of memory. And this was a low light that I remembered to include in my book because I was so, as you guys know, I hate like the forced bedroom. I hate the forced, we're an incest family type of scenes, as I like to call them. And they have us all getting under the covers and like layered on top of each other, like acting like we're snuggling and going to bed. And even now, I'm so uncomfortable even talking about it. And my skin crawls so much. And we're trying to add these like quippy.
No, what Kendra says like offends me.
It
offends me.
I do think she's trying to be quippy, though. I do think she's just trying to like put a lid on it in some way, even though I personally don't like it. But
I can't stand it.
Yeah, she says something like
I have it written down here. Hef says, what do you want to do now as we're all cuddled into bed and snuggling with each other? And Kendra says, I want to do you.
Yeah, that didn't.
And I wrote, barf.
No.
And it's such a lie on so many levels. Like, we had not been in the bedroom with Hef in so long. It was a monogamous relationship. Like, and Kendra had no inkling of even wanting that to happen ever again. And neither did I. And like we would run the other way if even a suggestion of it came up. And
it's like a domino effect from there of us trying to get out of it. Like not that it was ever going to happen, but you change the subject, you go, I want dessert. And I am deadpan as fuck at the end. And I'm like, I have to get up early and go to work. Yeah. And then Hef goes, I think I'm going to give you a day off. And you can see my face. I'm like, yes. Like I'm making faces on purpose. I want the camera to see it.
Eyes.
Yeah, I want the camera to see it. I'm like, this is disgusting. This is the worst thing that's ever happening on camera. I wrote in my notes, I go, I feel entitled to financial compensation.
And then finally I say, Hef is a cover hog, joking around like he's stealing all the covers. And then the camera pans out from the mansion as we're all laughing.
It's painful and I feel entitled to financial compensation.
It is painful to watch that final scene.
I'm suing. Just kidding.
And, like, I already feel like I'm getting buried while I watch it, but then when Kendra says, "I wanna do you," I feel like the nail in the coffin just, like, went
Oh
like the
my
final shovel of dirt. I'm like,
God.
"No, could
And
you
it's like,
make this
what
whole
is she
scene?"
doing? Because I know she doesn't want people to think that either. And I guess it's just she thinks she's funny at the last minute. And it was like, no, this isn't.
I don't know, but, like, what's the one thing you could say to make this whole scene worse right now? And then that's what it
I
is.
know. Oh my God.
So, that felt traumatic to even talk about that last scene.
So disgusting. So,
Um,
I told you to do best and worst,
I
but
did.
I also should have asked you, like, was there anything from the first 3 seasons that you think should have been included if you were picking a best of?
Oh, I probably would have picked almost not all different stuff, but definitely different things. I mean, I'd have to go through and, like, think about
Yeah.
what they would be, but yeah, I would have focused on, like, funner, cuter, and not, like, having to, like, tell the whole story kind of again. I wouldn't have had a story arc. Mine would have kind of been all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have if I could change anything, I would definitely include season 3 and kind of, like, condense everything, and you'd see more of an arc, and I mean, I think that applies more to me personally because season 3 is really the season I start doing things.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact of me saying at the end, like, "I have to work tomorrow," like, there's no inkling that I'm involved in the studio yet.
Yeah.
So it seems like it kinda ends prematurely, and we're not really getting the whole thing. And it felt very like, even at the time when we were doing it and this aired, it felt like almost a step like, I know it's not that deep, but to us, I think it felt a little or to me, felt like a little step back because I felt like I'd made so much progress in season 3, and now we're just back to, like, "Oh, the silly, goofy scenes of us being stupid," kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So what was your best and I think we all know what worst is.
Worse is that last cringe scene,
Oh
for
my
sure.
God, kill me. That might be my worst scene of the entire series. Like, maybe not. Maybe chocolate vagina only because of the way they edited it. Not
Oh,
because of
God.
what it is, but because of how they edited it. But this might be my worst of the entire it makes me so angry
Yeah.
all over again.
I mean, I don't really think about it too much, but watching it is definitely a cringe.
Mhm.
But worse, I just put, like, what my worst scenes were on
Yeah.
here, like revisiting the bitch scene again, and then showing my first test shot photos
Yeah.
because I just feel like that's so unfair. Crying during they had to show the crying during the cover scene, the white cover shot.
Yeah, I think for me, like, scene-wise, the worst is, like, the Kendra as a kid videotape and then anniversary episode. We're
Yeah,
done without those.
yeah. But nothing is worse than that final scene.
Oh God, nothing.
And, best is, like you said already, that we pointed out that we didn't like those scenes and those episodes from the very beginning, so that's on
Yeah.
record, like, you
Yeah, I
can't
love that that's
say
documented.
there's no ugly modeling faces in the entire thing.
That's good, yeah.
Lots of super cute Winnie and Gizmo scenes, and like I said, the montage right at the very end really made me teary-eyed and
Mhm.
nostalgic and, like, miss those times.
Yeah. I think my best is overall. I think this until the very end, there were a few things, but overall, for the most part, like I would say, like a good 3/4 of it was a really enjoyable watch. And I think they did a really good job.
Yeah.
And it caught some real life moments about how we felt at the time. And my other plus is I remember at the time really feeling a camaraderie with the 3 of you and even with Kendra, which was more rare. I felt like she and I were very much on the same page that was not Kevin's page. And even with Hef, like I felt like it was kind of like the 4 of us against the world, except for that final scene and that weird wild line that Kendra throws out there. I felt like there was a lot of good camaraderie when we were doing this.
Mhm.
And it was very like all of us against the world kind of.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I felt that way a lot. Like, that's a good way to put it, all of us against the world, because we were living such a unique lifestyle
Mhm.
that a lot of times I felt that way, and I felt so lucky that we had Hef that could help us, like, defend, like, what was happening too and stuff. Like, for The View, for example, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like, I felt like that whole thing, we were very much us against the world type of thing.
Yeah, all on the same page.
And yeah, but we all had each other, and it
Mhm.
kinda didn't matter what everybody else thought, like, and that's just what it is kind
Yeah.
of thing.
You know what else I wanted to add
What?
is I feel like a couple episodes ago we were talking about skinny jeans, low-rise jeans, and I feel like I kind of flopped when I was talking about like how come low-rise jeans have never come back because everybody else seems to think they have come back, at least from what I can tell from our Patreon comments. But other people were chiming in too. And I think what it is like what I think of as low-rise jeans is not what's marketed as low-rise jeans today.
Yeah.
Because people were chiming in and they're like, no, what they say is low-rise jeans today is really mid-rise. Because in my mind, what a low-rise jean is a Frankie B.
Yeah.
And I really, I was living in an LA bubble at the time. So I don't know if those jeans were even popular anywhere else outside of LA.
Oh.
Chime in on our comments if you know.
That never occurred to me that other people might not have been wearing Frankie B's.
Yeah, I don't know. But the Frankie B's were so short. Like, if you guys ever watched like the Playboy Mansion MTV Cribs, I'm wearing them on there. Like, they barely covered your crotch in the front. And in the back,
The zipper was like this big.
yeah. And in the back, once you sat down, your asshole was getting air.
Well, definitely if you had a thong on the entire thing, and that's what they say it's whale tail, because the entire thing would be so much higher than the actual jeans. So
yeah. But also, like, chime in on the comments because I don't know if Frankie B's, were they popular outside of LA?
I don't know. They were definitely an LA thing.
Oh,
the
for
store was in
sure.
LA, and the designer was in LA and stuff. But I don't know about how far they got.
So if you guys would like more content, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel. Check out our merch at girlsnextlevel.shop. And we will see you guys next week. We will be talking about an episode called Training Dazed.
Yes.
Which I already have so much to say about.
I do too.
I'm excited to
I have a
record
lot
that
of
one.
notes for it. Oh, and you'll find out that I was getting hate emails too.
Oh.
From that episode.
Oh, I didn't know. You'll have to fill me in. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.